what threats do turtles face?
Outside of adult turtles, then we have those super cute little baby hatchlings. What problems could they possibly have? And if you would believe it or not, they have even more problems than the adults. So baby turtles, once they emerge from the sand, the first problem they have is predators. What eats turtles? Crabs will eat turtles, mongoose, rats, and rats are particularly vicious. They flip the hatchlings over on their backs and they will eat their bellies. So they bite right in the middle and they eat all the internal organs. Sometimes they don't eat the heart, so the turtle's still alive. There's a huge hole in the middle, so it's flapping around. I've gone to a beach, seen a baby turtle, front flippers moving, head acting kind of strange, wondering why it's not actually crawling. And when I turn it over, everything was gone. So those are rats, and we have a couple of beaches where rats are a significant problem. Cats are a problem as well. The cats will bite the turtle, and the cat's eye tooth, the incisor, goes straight through the temple into the brain, and the turtle's dead. Now, remember I mentioned before that hatchlings are attracted to light?
Yes.
Now, as you can imagine, that is a huge problem because hatchlings normally, and the best time for them to go into the sea is at night. And this is when all of the lights are on. So the majority of our west and south coast beaches are developed. So sea turtle, hawksbill nesting beaches overlap perfectly with our tourism beaches. And our beaches where we have lots of tourism going on, you have hotels, restaurants, etc., and lots of lighting. So hatchlings, I would say perhaps 95% of the hatchlings that emerge on our beaches become disoriented and they go in the wrong direction.
Yes, I've seen stories on those.
When they go in the wrong direction, they get into properties, into swimming pools. Sometimes they go into gardens. On occasions when it rains, have you ever walked across a muddy pasture?
Yes.
What's the first thing that happens?
My feet will sink into the ground.
Yeah, but you keep walking, what happens?
I get all muddy.
You get muddy. So when it's wet, these hatchlings will go to the lakes in the garden and they'll start to crawl across the dirt. However, it's sticky, so it sticks to their flippers. So they keep struggling. The more they struggle, the more mud starts to stick to their flippers and the more they get stuck. We've had turtles that have been completely entombed in mud. When I say completely entombed, it looks like, you know, like if you went out to make a little mud cake and you made a ball.
Yeah.
That's what the turtle looks like, except that there's a turtle inside. So what happens, they get stuck in the mud, they get covered with the mud impairs their breathing because their entire head gets covered, but then the sun comes up. And when the sun comes up, that mud becomes their tomb because the temperature begins to rise and they cook inside of that mud. So these are very simple things that we would never think about. Something like the rain falling and, you know, place getting a little bit wet. You would never think that would be a problem for turtles, but in some cases it is. In other cases, the hatchlings are attracted to lakes and car parks. And in the street, Fitz Village is one of those areas where hatchlings will leave the beach and walk across the car park and go directly to the road. In some cases, we can lose entire nests in the road. So they walk to the road, they're trying to cross the street to get to the street lights. Oncoming traffic doesn't see them and they get run over. So they get crushed as they're trying to cross the road. Some of them do get to the other side of the road, but then they try to cross back. So if they were able to avoid being crushed the first time, they get crushed the second time. Others are not so lucky, they fall into drains where they can starve to death. I've had situations where hatchlings have gone into plastic bags, so just crawling and there was a plastic bag on the beach, they went into the plastic bag, couldn't get back out and they're just trapped in the plastic bag. We had one that was strangled because the plastic bag was hooked onto a pipe. He got tangled in the plastic bag and in trying to get away, the plastic bag just kept wrapping tighter and tighter around the hatchling's neck. And when we unraveled the plastic bag, his neck was just squeezed in like this. So he was strangled. We have other situations where they crawl into cups and so on as well. So where hatchlings are concerned, there isn't much that is not a danger to hatchlings. And all of this is in light of the fact that the survival rate for hatchlings is 1 in 1,000. And that's the modern estimate. People are actually estimating that it could really be survival to maturity as high as 1 in 10,000 hatchlings. And a single female will only lay about 900 and something eggs, so she's only going to produce maybe 800 and something hatchlings. So in one nesting season, she doesn't even produce enough hatchlings to ensure that one of them will survive. Not only that, but she only lays every other year to every 2 years. So any turtle that you see lay this year, you're not going to see next year. She's not going to come back until perhaps the following year. And she could leave and go get hit by a boat, or drown in somebody's fishing net, or swim in the wrong water at the wrong time and get caught by a fisherman, and that's the end of her life. So she would have died without replacing herself in the population. In addition to that, nesting females on beaches, they're also taken. We haven't had instances of poaching for a while, but we had 1 year in particular where people were taking nesting turtles off the beach as well. So I know it seems overwhelming, but there are like 1,000 problems that affect turtles.
Yes, that is very overwhelming and hard.
One more before we close up.
Oh, good.
Loss of nesting habitat is another big one, because as you can see, we've been having storms and so on.
Yeah.
This year, after Harvey, Irma, and Maria, we lost a great deal of sand on our west coast. But not only did we lose sand, but all of the eggs that would have been laid from the end of July and all of August and September, we would have lost those as well. So when the sand was washed away, all of those eggs were washed out to sea. So we lost thousands and thousands and thousands of eggs. In some cases, the hatchlings were almost fully developed, and they tried to come out of the eggs, but their stomachs weren't closed, they still had yolk, and they drowned or were eaten by predators. So in addition to all of these issues, you still have problems with narrowing beaches, rising sea level, extreme weather events, and infrastructure being built too close onto shore, preventing turtles from finding suitable places to nest.
I must say that is really heart-wrenching, hearing about the gruesome deaths that sea turtles face. And I'm wondering what can be done to protect them so that these strategies won't happen again.
Okay, so how people in general can protect sea turtles. There are a couple of things you can do which are very simple. One is reducing single-use plastics. Now I know plastic, yes, you've been hearing about it all the time, but the reason you've been hearing about it all the time is because it is exceedingly important. Now what are single-use plastics? Single-use plastics are things that you would use one time and not use again. So for example, straws, plastic cups, forks, spoons, even styrofoam plates. Other things might be water bottles, because most of the time we don't refill our water bottles, and if you've been checking social media, you would hear that it's not good to reuse those water bottles. People will say even if you leave it in the car and it gets hot during the course of the day, you shouldn't drink the water and you should dump the bottle as well. So buy a stainless steel water bottle, buy a glass water bottle, and refill the water from your tap. Take it with you, and then you can just use it every day without having to constantly throw those things away. If you are going out partying, or if you're going out to get a drink, either take your own drink or ask the bar for a glass. That's what I do when you try to hand me a plastic cup. I say, no thank you, I'd like to have a glass please. And then let the bartender know before you order the drink that you want no straw, because if you wait until he's making the drink, before you blink, a straw will already be in the cup. So let them know. There are a number of business places that have already switched to straw only upon request. Some of them are using paper straws only, and some have just stopped using straws altogether. Now one of the problems, because sometimes we think, there's straws that are made out of corn products and plant products, and we can use those instead of plastics. One of the issues is that while they do break down, so they're not going to stay forever in the way that regular plastics will stay forever, they still stay long enough to cause a problem. So a straw that's going to break down in, let's say, 6 months, how long does it take a turtle that is feeding to swallow a straw? Does it take 6 months to get No, it does not. So it's the actual material that's the problem, not only what it's made from. Other things that you can do is avoid bonfires on the beach. For New Year's, if you plan to go to a beach to watch fireworks, do not light a fire. If you feel like roasting breadfruits in a scenic location, do not light a bonfire on the beach. If you want to do something, either do it way at the back of the beach or do it further down. Furthermore, you really need to get permission from the National Conservation Commission if you're going to have a fire on the beach.
Yes.
So that's the second thing. Third thing, do not drive on the beach. Remember we said it takes 3 to 5 days for those hatchlings to get to the surface? Now, when they get to the surface and they go to sleep, they're only 2 to 3 inches below the surface of the sand. If you drive over that nest, you can crush all of those hatchlings while they're sleeping right there in the ground. You can also compact the sand above the eggs, making it extremely difficult to impossible for those hatchlings to be able to dig their way out of that nest. And if the eggs are shallow, you can just crush the eggs themselves as well. With the bonfires that are placed on top of nests provide the heat to cook the eggs. Not only that, but remember hatchlings are attracted to light and they can go straight into the bonfire. So another thing that we can do is support conservation activities. Come volunteer with the Sea Turtle Project. Come and learn more. If you're on the beach and you see somebody else engaging in a negative practice, you know, say a word to them. I'm not saying go and get cursed, but in a nice kind of friendly way, you know, just go over and say, oh, did you know that turtles nest on this beach? And you know, you really shouldn't drive on the beach because you may do X, you may do Y. Now, if you happen to live close to the beach or you work with a business place that is near to the beach, adjust your lighting. The Barbados Sea Turtle Project is willing to come whenever invited and do a free lighting assessment. Now, sea turtle friendly lighting does not mean pitch black. Sea turtle friendly lighting, while pitch black is ideal for turtles, it simply means in some cases reducing the wattage of the bulbs, taking out some lights, because some lights are purely aesthetic lights, like the pretty blue light that shines on the tree, that shines up on the leaves, or those lights that shine out on the water so that the tourists that are dining in your restaurant can see the blue sea even though it's 10 o'clock at night and see fish jumping and so on. Other lights, you can simply add a shade or change the angle so it's not shining too far out on the beach. With some lights, you can put motion sensors on them so they're not on constantly, but they're only triggered when somebody passes. So there are lots of things that we can do to make the beach more sea turtle friendly as well. You could support the Sea Turtle Project. We sell some amazing t-shirts. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing one right now, but you can buy a t-shirt, you can buy a sea turtle bracelet as well. We have stickers and so on. You can make a purchase to support the project. You can follow our activities on our Facebook page. As you mentioned before, it's Barbados Sea Turtle on Facebook. Sorry, Barbados Sea Turtle on Instagram, the Barbados Sea Turtle Project on Facebook. But really, every single action we can do really makes a difference. You can spread the word. Tell somebody else what you've learned about sea turtles by watching this video. You can also do other things to help. So while turtles are important, our environment as a whole is also very important as well. So activate. Don't sit down at home and keep quiet. Nobody ever changed anything by doing nothing. So you have to get up, you have to do something. Leave home, come outside. You know where we're sitting now? It's amazing. A brilliant blue, lovely sea. Yes, and this is completely free. If you don't have a car, $2 by the bus. And there's so many beaches on the West Coast, you don't even have to go far. You could get off at the very first one. Come outside, sit down, enjoy the breeze, enjoy the view, look around, see what's going on our coastline, see what's going on in our environment. And once your eyes are open, I'm sure you could only feel the urge to do something to change for the positive. But can you imagine, you are in a bus, you're going on a picnic with your whole family, and you have a really big family. You have 100 people in your family. Now the bus could only hold, you know, like 90 or so. So the other 10 are behind in the ZR. So you're following the bus and all of a sudden the bus is driving along and the road collapses. That entire bus goes careening down the side of a hill and bursts into flames.
Wow, that's rough.
That's more than rough. All 90 of your family members have died. And that's basically what happened to the hawksbill turtle. In 3 generations, 90% of the population was lost. So while people may think, oh, we're seeing more turtles now than before, project is doing a really good job, that's true. I would be the first to say the project is doing a great job. But turtle population numbers are still very, very, very low when compared to historical numbers. And that population, 90%, only 10 of the population is left. That's like 10 people out of your family are all that remains to carry the baton, to kind of take things forward. So I hope that puts in perspective why it's really important for everybody, all Barbadians, not just Barbadians, wherever you are, to do your part to not just care for sea turtles, but to take care of our environment as a whole.
On the last note, what advice will you give a young upcoming scientist?
Okay, so a young upcoming scientist. The first piece of advice I would give is to have a realistic viewpoint of your options. So for scientists, there are limited options in Barbados. We are a small island. We don't have large fields. So you know that your scope would be quite limited. Also, this is not a bank job. This is not a lawyer. This is not a doctor. You will not be raking cash in hand over fist. You're not going to be earning buckets of money. So you need to be sure of your motivations. It's not a field to go into if you're just interested in having a good job and making money, because you will make some money, but you're definitely not going to become a millionaire
it's more of a passion
from doing science. Yeah, it has to be more of a passion. It has to be doing something that makes you happy, or doing something that you just really, really, really want to do. And that's the first thing. The second thing is experience is important. You need to get out there. Learning stuff from books and watching videos on YouTube and Facebook is not enough. You need to get out there and go experience conservation and science for yourself. So volunteer with the Future Center Trust, volunteer with the Sea Turtle Project, join an organization like CN, join any of the other organizations. Start your own organization in your neighborhood. Get out and do something to give yourself some experience in the field. One, it looks great on your CV, but two, it also helps you to determine whether this is really what you want to do. You also need to learn to think outside of the box. You can't be a scientist and only coloring within the lines. You have to, one, know what you want to do, but you have to think about unique ways of getting your point across, unique ways of reaching people, and also of doing things like raising funding and that kind of thing. But the final point I would like to leave you with is that science is exceedingly important. Now, I am an ecologist/biologist. I'm into environmental science, but every type of science, physicists, mathematicians, doctors, every chemist as well, yes. Every single science is exceedingly important. Science is what makes the world turn around after all. Well, it may not be what makes the world will turn regardless, but it's what helps us to survive on this rapidly rotating planet. So while it may be very, very difficult, the reward is definitely waiting for you at the end.
So can you once again give us those websites and addresses where we can find more information on sea turtles?
The website for the project is www.barbadosseaturtles.org. Our Facebook page is the Barbados Sea Turtle Project, and on Instagram we're at Barbados Sea Turtle.
And can you give them the hotline number?
Oh, as well? Of course. The hotline number is 230-0142. That's 230-0142.
And thank you very much, Carla, for coming to this interview. And this is your pet.
George, turtles are never pets. They are wild animals. We leave them on the beach. George, however, is stuffed, and he's a lovely replica of a sea turtle, and he always comes along because George, like everybody else, loves to save sea turtles too.